My name is Wilma Huey, and I'm recording for the Chemung County Historical Museum Oral History Project. And I'm interviewing today, December 3rd, 1989, Mrs. Rovina Rouse of 759 J Street, Elmira, New York. Mrs. Rouse, when did your family first come to this area?
1922.
What brought them here?
They,
Was it economic status,
Oh,
or
yes,
they had
very
relatives here, or
we didn't have any relatives. It was economic.
to find work? And
Yes, to find work.
where did they come here from?
South Carolina.
Were you born there or here?
Yes, in South Carolina.
Do you remember any of that, or were you too small to remember?
Very vaguely.
What kind of work did your parents do?
The farmers.
Okay. Where did you attend elementary school?
Number 8.
Here in Elmira?
Mm-hmm.
Were there any positive experience that you remember about elementary school?
Well,
Being a black or a minority?
no, we didn't have any of that type of experience then.
Mhm.
It was later that we came into those kind of
Did you have any favorite teachers
yes.
in elementary?
Yeah, Miss Mulaney, her name was.
Mrs.
Mrs. Mulaney.
Mulaney?
Mhm.
What did you like about her?
She was our English teacher, and she taught beautifully, and she read to us. I'll never forget the first that she read to us, The House of Seven Gables. She would read so many chapters a day, and she was very, very good.
Did she show any difference between you and other students?
I didn't notice
You
it.
didn't notice?
There we, in that area, there was quite a few of us blacks, as they refer to us,
Mhm.
and we all just went along in a group, and she accepted us.
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
taught us.
Do you remember any other blacks in your class?
Oh yes. You know their names?
Yes.
Well, there was me, Thelma Benson, Marina English. They come first, the closest.
Mhm. Did the blacks associate with whites at that time, or the people that you named? Did you all just kind of form or group together, or was there fair treatment?
No, there was no fraternization with the others.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
We just basically the girls that I named,
Right.
we were neighbors, living neighbors,
Mhm.
living close together, and we went to school together, came back, and like that. And we went to the neighborhood house, which was a place for us to hang out, as you would say.
Right.
And we joined the cooking classes and
Mhm.
all those kind of things that they did there.
Did you live on the east side?
Benjamin Street.
Okay. What were the social involvement, as you recall, of the blacks at that time? What social activities were blacks involved in as a young person? Um,
I know, but
It's all right.
you can bribe me.
Mm-hmm. high school, what was that like? Which school did you attend in high school?
Academy.
Do you have any favorite teachers in high school?
Yes, the lady, what was her name? I think I was having a problem with business arithmetic,
Mm-hmm.
and I dropped it.
Mm-hmm.
And she was so upset because I dropped it. She sent my brother, because he was taking it too, but he was a year ahead of me,
Right.
and told him to tell me to come back. She'd give me special
Oh,
help.
did she?
And she did.
That's great. It- That's all right if you don't remember her name.
Mhm.
Were there any involvements that young people could just kind of socialize in that might have given you the message that everyone was the same, or was that pattern of just blacks associating with blacks still in place in high school?
As far as I can remember, blacks just at that time. It didn't open up until too much later.
Did you have guidance counselors at that time? No. What was your inspiration to go on and further your education?
My love for people and wanting to help people.
You being a pioneer, you were a pioneer.
Mm-hmm.
Before I get to your professional job in the pioneering area, what was your first job?
Like all the blacks.
Uh-huh. Okay. How long did you do that?
Oh, maybe 4 or 5 years.
Mhm. Did you have goals for yourself then? You
I
wanted
wanted to go, but financially we couldn't afford it.
Mhm. Did parents encourage you to further your education? Or was it an initiative that was
I think we
within
pushed
you?
ourselves. They never hindered us, but I
Right.
think we had to push ourselves.
Push yourself.
So yeah. They never said no, don't do this, but they never stopped us from doing whatever we thought we wanted to do. That was constructive,
And you went to nursing school in Elmira?
No, in New York City.
In New York City?
In Brooklyn, rather.
So you left Elmira
Mhm.
to go to school?
Yeah.
And came back to Elmira to work?
Right.
Did you run into any problems when you returned here?
Oh no. The difference in the two hospitals. I applied at the St. Joseph's Hospital. My sister was at that time was Sister Elmira's, and she gave me encouragement. And I thought maybe I'd try to earn to see what I could do. And they said, here I'm showing this lady where I had passed the state board and everything, and she said she couldn't do it. She couldn't hire me.
She said she couldn't hire you?
Couldn't hire me. And I went back to Sister Emily and said, well, oh, you come, you get your uniform, you'll be here tomorrow morning.
So you went one place, had all of the necessary certification,
Right.
and you were told that they couldn't hire you.
That lady did. I think it was a personal thing with her. So,
Do you think it had to do with who you were?
Well, she didn't know me, so I was only a black person
Right.
applying for a job.
Right.
So it had to be maybe her personal resentment for the
Okay.
fact that, I don't know that for a fact, but I just
Right.
assumed, I don't know other reason she could have. Well, here's my thing, my license
Mhm.
and everything, where I passed my state boards and all that. So what else could she have?
That's right. Were there any blacks at the Arnott in that position at
No.
that time?
Not that I knew of.
And when you came back to St. Joe's?
Oh, well, there was no problem.
How many years did you work there?
15 years.
How were you received by the patients?
Oh, now. Well, some was good, and some just wouldn't have no part of it. I went to this one lady's room one morning. Her name, I'll never forget her, Mrs. Lyons. Her name was, to give her a bath. And she didn't want a bath, and I was going to give it to her. So I went back to Sister Anne Maurice and told her that she refused the bath because we had to give an account of what we had done. And so Sister Anne Maurice went down and had a talk with her, and the lady begrudgingly let me do it. She didn't really want it, you know. But what happened with that is I went on and I did it. And then the next couple of days, I was not assigned to her. But the next day after that, she asked for me. Where's the colored lady? And he said, she's out on the floor, she's busy. Why? Well, she felt like, this is her statement, that the black people were more thorough than the white because we were like slaves to the white. You understand what I'm saying?
So that was her interpretation.
Right. So she preferred me for that reason, because she thought she was getting a better bath. Because I was like a slave working for her.
So there was not a real acceptance of you as a qualified professional, but just association with.
Yeah.
So she asked for you the next day.
Yeah, she asked for me.
And you had been
Sister
reassigned?
wouldn't let me go. She said no.
Okay. Any other problems that you faced? Just being
being kind of snubbed, you know. It was no major thing. That was really my worst incident. Well, I've had some missus that would say it's time for whatever I was going to do, and they say, oh, I don't feel like it today or something like that. Why the reason for that, I don't know.
Were there any problems that you encountered with your peers, with other nurses?
Thank God, I have to admit I haven't had any problem. Until this day when I go to visit the ones that know, are you ever going to come back to work?
Oh, really? So, you know,
I really left on a good note. You know, I had my first heart attack on the job. They put me to bed and they treated me like I was a special person.
What year was that? Do you remember? You had your first heart attack while you were working?
Well, I was working. They put me to bed. I called my husband and told him that they didn't tell him I had a heart attack. They told him I was sick.
Right.
And they had put me to bed, and I went, you know. And so he came down, and the doctor said, well, we'll keep her to tomorrow, and we'll see, you know, what shows up. And they did let me go home after that, but I couldn't go back to work right away. I'd say maybe about 2 weeks after that, and then they let me go back. But then they rotated me from where I was working on Medical 4.
Right.
They put me on Medical 1 as a relief nurse just for the weekends until they thought my condition was so that I could do heavier work.
Right.
So I was in a supervisory position down on the first floor.
Okay.
Because I replaced the regular night nurse that was there on her nights off, which wasn't known for practicals at that time.
So you moved up to a supervisory position?
Just, you know, for a while I was there.
Sure. When you...
And then I was allowed to give medicines and things like that where they weren't doing. Practicals wasn't doing that.
Right. When you retired, did you retire in a supervisory position?
I retired from
that. How were your raises? You didn't have any problem with receiving your raises on time?
Just got them routine.
Were there any complaints against you? Were there any kind of hearing that you ever had to go to?
Never had to go to a hearing.
Was that something that
And right now, Mrs. Madigan and Peg Osborne and all those people, wherever they see me, I meet them in an elevator. I was down to the hospital not too long ago for an x-ray, and Mrs. Madigan was on. She said, oh, Rovina, I haven't seen you in so long. And so Baba, it's just like an old pal. And I used to go to the nurses' meetings and all that.
Right. What do you
never rebuffed in any way like that.
What do you attribute that to, Mrs. Rouse? Usually when blacks were pioneers, in any job, uh, there's always been problems, even in acceptance or some question about performance. What would you say made yours so unique?
I really can't answer that. I tried to do. They taught us in school. I'm teaching you this, and this is the way you should know it.
Right.
But if you, whatever hospital you go to, you go by what they want,
Okay.
and that's what we did. Use your head to save your heels. They always told us. Where you're gonna give a page in the bath. You're supposed to assemble everything on a tray.
Right.
Everything you're gonna need for that bath. So you don't have to do this and I forgot this and run back for that and things like that. So that this is the way we will perform, and so we did that. I never changed that. So Sister Anne Marie said to me when you said, "Why do you take all this?" I said, "That's the way we were taught to do it."
So,
But they told us to do it the way you would require. I said, "If you want me to change, then you change."
sounds like you were a very proficient person.
I tried to be.
Yes.
I don't say I accomplished it all, but I tried to be.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. If you had some things to change, even in your pioneer status, are there any things that you can look back on and say, I wish that was done differently, or that would have made my job or made this transition easier? Can you think of any?
Was with the graduate nurses, my biggest problem was, every time, do me a favor, do me a favor, and I'm doing their work, but do me a favor. Well, I resented that after a while. At first, I didn't catch on
What they were doing.
Yeah, but after I caught on, I said, well, gee whiz. And so next morning when the nurse came out, she said, well, how did your night go? And I said, I've been doing favors all night.
Okay. And that was
Something
with
like
the
that.
graduate. Did
And
they
she
do
was
that to
standing
all?
there while I said it. I didn't go behind her back and say it.
Right
Said it
there.
right in front of her. And so.
If the door had not been open for you at St. Joseph's Hospital, what do you think your next move would have been?
Well, I forgot what her name. It's a Christian that used to live down on Oak Street. She was a graduate nurse, a black graduate nurse, and she worked at the Army.
Okay.
So I was going to go to her and ask her if there was, day work for practicals, like, and do private duty like that. But I didn't have to do that.
Right.
It worked out.
Do you recall the flood of 1946?
Yes, ma'am.
Where were you then?
As fate would have it, I was in the hospital.
Or were you? On the job?
No.
You were patient?
But my kids was scattered all around, not all around, but Inez, Taylor and them, they had Louis and Delma and Marvin, and my sister took the girls. She took them to Brooklyn with her for a while, so I could get straight.
So you were hospitalized at that time?
Yeah.
How did that flood? Were you living on the east side at the time?
I was living on East Avenue.
How did that affect you?
Well,
did you move, or did you stay in the same house? Or?
Well, we had to come back to the same house, but in the meantime, as fate would have it, or God would have it, however you want to say it, the city decided to extend and put in that bridge down on East Avenue. So they bought our property. And so we moved here.
And you moved here. How long have you lived here?
Ever since 47.
47. So that was the year after the flood.
Yeah, after the flood.
All right. Do you recall the flood of 72? How did that change your life? Were you living in the same house here?
Yes. I've been through three floods. The last flood and the 46 flood,
Mhm.
and the last flood.
Mhm.
That last flood just devastated us in a way. Because we had to get out of I'd go out of the roof and get in a boat.
Oh, did you?
Oh yeah, to get out of here. And the boat came in through here, and Delmer's car and Mildred's car, and they were parked in the driveway. Never touched it. I mean, it was so deep until the boat could go over it
Over.
without.
Mm.
And we went out the bedroom window off the roof and got in the boat.
Oh my heavens. And after that, you were able to restore the house because you
Yeah,
have a beautiful home here.
well, they took us, and we was at St. Cashmer's for about, how they just played it,
Right,
everybody.
right.
We was at St. Cashmer's for about a week, I'd say.
Mhm.
But then they got stealing and going on, so I thought, my God, whatever I got, I want it.
Right.
Whatever's not lost,
Right.
So I said to Louis, why don't we try to go back now that the water's receded, and maybe we could stay upstairs.
Right.
And
Mhm.
manage like that. But in the process of the whole thing, my husband got scalded. They told us to boil our water, and so before the news came to us that it was as bad as it was, we was boiling the water, and we had kettles of water on the stove. And so when we decided at first we was going to stay upstairs, so he was going to carry some of these kettles of water upstairs. He got right there, and for some reason he lost his balance, and he fell, and that water, and all this side, all this was scalded.
Mhm. Mhm.
So when Delmer he didn't know what to do. We didn't know what to do. So Delmer said, he said, I'm going to get out because he and his children and wife were here with us because the water was already over in his place. He thought we were safer over here. So he thought if he came over here, but then when he got here and stayed a while, it got so bad. So he said, I'm going to take one of these doors off of here, and I'm going to float out on this thing and see if I can get us some help. So just about the time he made up his mind to do that, Reverend Huff that used to live over here came by in a little canoe thing, saying if anybody needed a ride. When he saw how many of us, he said, no, I have to go back and get a motorboat for you guys. It's too many.
Right.
And so that's what he did.
And your husband was injured at this time?
Yes, he was all scarred. So when Reverend Huff, he said, I'll take him on to the hospital. Somebody has to do something for him. So they took him to the hospital. And every day after that, water and some way, somehow, somebody came and took him so that could be dressed.
As you look at Elmira today and you yourself being a pioneer, what do you see as some of the major changes that has taken place for persons such as yourself who might want to go into nursing, for black women today who feel that this might be an area that they'd like to pursue? Do you see any changes? Is it any easier for them?
Yes,
It is easier.
It is easier.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I'll say that it was changing when my oldest daughter, wanted, she worked as a nurse's aide. And they liked her down there very much. And Sister Anne Marie said, if she wants to go, she'd be welcome.
To nursing school?
To nursing school. And blacks hadn't been in then, see,
Okay.
so. And then, since then, both girls worked as nurses' aides and and they did babysitting and whatever they needed to do to help, with our maintenance. And so, now I don't think if anybody really and truly wants to do something, I don't think there's any barriers now, really.
Tell me what your children are doing and how
they're doing.
Yes, and give me some background of their education and what they have achieved in life.
Well, Delmar, what he did. He was a graduate from Alfred University, and he was a social worker for one while, and then he was with the mental group up in Newark at one while, and then he was a director at the neighborhood house, and then after he had the condition, that's it. Now Marvin, he went to school at Winona State in Minnesota, and he works out there. He teaches history and coaches the football, and he's still doing that. Dolores, she went to Fredonia, and she graduated as a teacher, and has been teaching until she started having her children. And she had her children, she was off for a while. And then she went back, and then she was working at the radio television station in Rochester. And now she didn't like that too much, so she's back to teaching now. And Judy, she went to Pakistan, and she studied music. She was a music teacher in Syracuse for 20 years.
What kinds of things did you say to your children to encourage them to reach their goals?
I don't want you to think that I'm a special person or projected myself to be more than we might be. But I never had a problem when my children wanted to go to school. Never. They never wanted to stay home. If when they all was getting out of school, we told them when college time came, if you want to go, we don't have much money, but we're with you. We'll do whatever we can to help you. Thinking that maybe Delma would go, and maybe Marvin, because they were the men and they would be head of families someday. But everybody wanted to go. Nobody said, not me. So we had to make a way, some way, somehow, with what we could do, and they getting student loans. We made it somehow. But always the kids always wanted to go to school. And right now, everybody's taking different courses, even though they got jobs, whatever they can do to get into different projects and stuff like that. They're taking courses to do.
They didn't have a lot of blacks in the area who were in school. So,
Mm-mm.
so don't you think that you and your husband was a driving force?
Well, I think we helped, that's for sure. And just like our closer friends, as our kids went, they seem to try to, let's do what the Joneses doing, as you would say, you know. And see now, like Delma went to Alfred up there. He was the only black in that whole school until finally, one girl finally came. She was from Long Island.
So
And
your children were pioneers then.
And Marvin
yes.
out there in Minnesota, there was no blacks out there.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Not in the area where he was now, where he's in St. Paul now, there are plenty of blacks.
Right.
But in Winona,
school.
where he went to school, very few.
You must have given them some inner strength that it doesn't matter.
We told them they had to go to get school to get any job that'd be worth having. We tried to get that across to them because, all right, you take the job my husband had, they worked hard, but they didn't get a big pay. I said, now if you want to do better than Dad's doing or something like that, you just got to have an education. You can't get it without an education. And they believed us,
Mhm.
so they went out and they tried.
How did blacks in Elmira look at you, Mrs. Rouse? You being the first black LPN, did you receive any opposition from the black community that you know of?
No, not that I know of. No, I don't say there wasn't any, but they didn't confront me with it.
Have you ever received any type of award recognizing you as the first black LPN?
Well, they had it, but lost it in a flood. They got a little booklet, like, put out, stating that I was the first black practical nurse, and, you know, where I had gone to school and all like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Was that from the black community or from Elmira City?
The city.
From the city.
Mm-hmm.
Has anyone ever come to you to ask about your contributions to the black community in regards to being the first? Has there been any effort to focus on that?
No.
What do you remember about the civil rights movement, and how did that affect you in your job role? Was there a heightened awareness after Dr. King? Do you feel that there were some different kinds of attitudes generated toward you after America began to look at blacks as people?
No, I can't. There I go again.
Mhm.
But no, I can't truthfully say that. But by not being out all the time,
Mhm.
maybe I missed some of it, you
Mhm.
know.
Mhm.
But was very aware of Dr. King, and even the people that I worked with on the job. Well, there were those that thought he was great, and there were those that thought not too much of
That's
it.
right.
It varied.
Where do you see the civil rights movement or the rights of blacks going? Do you feel that we've made any gains?
We made some
We
gains.
made some gains.
Some gains. Not as much as we'd like to see, but some.
Do you think, just based upon where we are now in terms of preparing ourselves?
You know,
Question.
so much of it depends on the individual.
Okay.
He's got to want to have more, be more himself. Uh, if we want something, we really have to make a stride to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to be determined to do it.
Okay.
Because if we don't, well, there's so many things that come up to discourage you sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So you work at it. First you have to get your education. You gotta have that. That's your backbone.
Mm-hmm.
So that you can go further than where we are right now.
Mm-hmm.
We're in a pretty good grade, but we gotta go further.
Mm-hmm.
We just can't stay here where we are.
Mm-hmm. Were you involved at all in the civil rights movement? Some things happened that were happening on the national scene, and there were some things happening locally.
Mm-hmm. Well, going to the local meetings and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Did you feel that that was making a difference? In other words, that the city of Elmira was responding when you met? Was there a course of action that followed, or did you meet just to stay informed as a people of what was going on in Elmira?
Well, I think, to be fair, I have to say my part was staying informed.
Mm-hmm. 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 Were there anything, and I know your history, you were quite a social lady, and a lot of things in terms of formal teas and things you've been responsible for in the city. Were you ever involved in doing things of that nature, that preparing teas or preparing some type of luncheons for people who were directly involved in the civil rights movement?
I have contributed dishes to these things, but not, I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
there always to function.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Were you ever at any meetings that keynote people from around the state might have spoken to address the black cause? Do you recall attending any rallies of any kind?
No, I don't think I did.
Now, your brother also is a pioneer in this city. Uh, how did that further your position? Do you think that who Mr. Jennings was a determining factor to your status, or do you feel that your gains were made on your own?
Well, I think they were made on my own, because when I told anybody that Chuck was my brother, yes, they didn't, So, I mean, He did his thing, I
You
did
did
mine.
yours. I know oftentimes in Elmira, and probably still so, it kind of operated with a namesake. If you were
This
a
is true.
relative of someone
Of
else,
somebody else.
then you were then looked upon as favorable, or that you had that opportunity to
Right.
succeed. He certainly made a contribution to our youth.
Right.
However, I feel that that was in the field of sports.
Yeah.
And when I look at
But then
you,
he was shortchanged in the whole deal.
was he?
I think he was, because he worked this thing up and got it set up, and they accepted it downtown. But yet, when he wanted to be president of it or something, he didn't have enough education.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
I think he actually died of a broken heart.
Oh,
because when he was so sick and in the hospital, and I said, Chuck, don't give up. Let's fight
Right.
this fight. And he said, it's no use. It's no use. And I think that was part of it.
Was that an ongoing struggle? Was there ever a possibility, and then that was kind of taken from him, or how was that?
Well, it was kind of, as I would think, the way it was kind of taken out of his hands.
Yes.
See, they got all new people to sit in
That's
there
right.
in these new places, and then he was out in the cold.
And he
way.
was at the helm of that
Well,
when
he
it started.
started.
Yes.
He wrote up all the plans, and they accepted him. If it wasn't worthwhile, then why did they accept it? Accept it rather. You know what I mean? But they didn't. And so.
Did he sit on the board of that? Was he on the board of that glove house?
Yes. So the girl that comes here mornings to get me up in the mornings to help me, she knew him, and she was saying what a nice person he was and all this, and she said I always expected that he would have been more, and she's right there. And so, what can you say?
See, I think that's important to have that as part of record, because most people don't know that he started glove house.
Yeah. Because just like the words glove house, he had whatever each word meant, and he worked out a little saying to go, G is for so and so and so, and like that, all the way down the line.
I didn't realize that.
Oh, yeah.
Your family has certainly been an integral part of not only politics, but the social structure of Elmira. And you and your husband and your children, we would like for that to be part of record, that Rouses have been instrumental in the success of Elmira. And when we look at your brother's initiatives in establishing Glove House, the purpose of this tape is also to make it part of record that it was started by him.
Yeah.
And
Got it on his tombstone, founder of
Glove House. Mrs. Rouse, I thank you so much.
Entirely welcome. I wish I could have done more.
You did all that I expected, and I am so thankful that you took time out from your busy day, and we're hoping that your husband is up and around and feeling a lot better. Thank you.
Entirely welcome.